If the ringing in your ears gets louder when everything around you becomes quiet, this video is for you, and you need to watch carefully until the end, because what you're experiencing is not random, and it's not something most people understand until it has already taken control of their daily life. Many people think tinnitus is just an ear problem, but what researchers are finding suggests the real cause may be happening deeper, inside the brain's sound processing system, and that changes everything about how it should be approached. At first, the ringing often feels small. Maybe you only notice it at night. Maybe it shows up after a stressful day. Maybe it fades for a moment and comes back again. That's exactly why people ignore it. But here's the problem. The brain doesn't ignore patterns, it learns them. When abnormal signals repeat long enough, the brain begins treating them as normal input, and the sound that once felt temporary slowly becomes constant. This is why so many people say it started mildly and then became impossible to escape. What's really happening is that your brain is trying to compensate. When the auditory system stops receiving perfectly balanced information, certain neural circuits become more sensitive. Instead of staying quiet, they amplify internal signals. The brain thinks it is helping you hear better, but the result is a sound that doesn't exist in the outside world. That's why silence feels uncomfortable. The quieter the environment, the louder the internal signal feels. Now here's something most people are never told. The longer this loop continues, the stronger it becomes. The brain is designed to reinforce whatever it repeats. The same process that helps you learn a language or build a habit can also lock in unwanted signals. That means waiting and hoping the ringing disappears can actually make it harder to calm later. This isn't fear, it's simply how the nervous system adapts. You may have already tried things that only help temporarily. Background music, white noise, ear-focused solutions, maybe even supplements that promised quick relief. And while some of these can make the sound easier to tolerate for a moment, they don't explain why the signal keeps coming back. They don't address what is happening inside the brain itself. That's why so many people feel frustrated. They keep treating symptoms but never understand the source. Research connected to Harvard has discussed the idea that there may be a limited period where the brain is still flexible enough to calm these abnormal signals more effectively. During this stage, the auditory pathways are active but not deeply fixed. Once the brain fully adapts, the pattern becomes more stable, which is why early understanding matters so much. This is also why some people notice improvement when they focus on supporting neural balance instead of just masking sound. Think about how this affects daily life. Sleep becomes lighter, concentration drops. You start noticing the ringing in moments that used to feel peaceful. Over time, the sound steals attention even when you don't want to think about it. And the more attention it gets, the stronger it feels. That creates a cycle. The sound causes stress, stress increases sensitivity, sensitivity makes the sound feel louder. Breaking that cycle requires changing what's happening underneath, not just trying to ignore it. This is where a different approach starts making sense. Instead of fighting the ringing directly, some researchers focus on supporting the internal environment that influences auditory signaling, things like neural calmness, circulation, and overall balance in the brain's communication pathways. When the nervous system is less overstimulated, the brain may reduce the amplification that creates phantom sound. That's why some people report that the ringing fades into the background after they address the right mechanisms, instead of chasing temporary fixes. If you're still watching, it means this probably sounds familiar. Maybe you've been searching for answers and keep finding the same generic advice. Maybe you're worried the sound is getting stronger. The important thing to understand is this: the brain can change, but it needs the right conditions. And the sooner you understand what may be driving the signal, the easier it is to make informed decisions about what to do next. There is a full presentation that explains this process in much more detail, including why the brain creates these signals, what may be causing the loop to continue, and why some people are seeing improvements when they support the auditory system differently. It goes deeper than this video can, and it explains the exact reasoning behind the approach step by step so you can understand it clearly instead of guessing. If you want to know what's really happening inside your auditory system and why the ringing may be getting worse instead of better, watch that full presentation carefully. The link is in the description. Don't rush through it because the most important explanation comes later, and that's where people usually realize why what they've tried before didn't work. You don't have to accept constant noise as normal, but you also shouldn't ignore it and hope it disappears on its own. Your brain is constantly adapting, and right now it's learning something. The question is whether it keeps learning the ringing or starts learning silence again. Watch the full explanation, understand what's really going on, and decide what makes sense for you before more time passes.